Hello, I'm Dan, your friendly fishmonger at dansfish.com, and today we're going to learn about water changes and when it's necessary to do them. Keeping your aquarium water clean is essential for the longevity and health of your fish, but what is clean? And how often do we need to change the water to achieve clean? One metric of clean is the amount of nitrogenous waste in your aquarium. As we learned in a previous video, the nitrogen cycle converts ammonia to nitrite and then to nitrate. Nitrate is safe at low doses, but toxic at high doses. How high of a dose do you need to be toxic? Well, it depends on the fish and it depends on the study. But here's a couple of examples. One experiment which tested the toxicity of nitrate in aquarium fish was performed on spangled perch. They kept 3 different groups of spangled perch at 0, 50, and 100 parts per million of nitrate respectively. And here's what they found. The perch kept at 50 and 100 parts per million of nitrate had almost twice the amount of methemoglobin in their blood as the perch kept at 0 parts per million nitrate. Why is that important? Well, methemoglobin blocks your blood cells' ability to carry oxygen. So the more nitrate a fish is exposed to, the less capacity it has to utilize the oxygen it breathes. This study also found that exposure to 50 and 100 parts per million nitrate doubled the oxygen that a fish needed to breathe during exercise, and it also increased the amount of time it took for a fish to recover after exercise. So it appears that 50 to 100 parts per million nitrate is detrimental, at least to a spangled perch. Another study was done on striped bass, and it found that if striped bass were kept at 38 parts per million or below of nitrate, then they fed better, they grew faster than when they were raised at higher levels of nitrate. So nitrate doesn't appear to be super toxic, but it does have detrimental effects on fish when it's at a high enough concentration for a long enough period of time. We don't want that. If you wouldn't mind taking a moment to like and subscribe, we are trying to grow this channel and your support would be appreciated. Thank you. So how do natural waterways deal with nitrate? Well, let's take 2 examples. Let's start with a river. You have snow melt that creates pure, clean water that goes into the river channel and flows downstream. Constant fresh water changes, really rapid water changes of clean, fresh water in a river. So that is how rivers deal with nitrate. Well, that's one small part of how rivers deal with nitrate. But what about a body of water like a pond? In a pond, you get rain, it collects in a basin, and it just sits there. There's no water change. In fact, during the summer, it might not rain for a couple of months. It's just stagnant water. How do the fish survive in that? How does the nitrate concentration not get so high that it kills the fish? Well, in nature, you have deep sediments. You have a lot of dirt under the water. And if you go far enough down into that dirt, you'll get very low oxygen levels. This is called an anoxic zone. In the anoxic zone, microorganisms live that can use oxygen, but when they don't have oxygen, they will use nitrate. They will metabolize nitrate instead of oxygen and turn it into a gas, which diffuses out of the water and disappears. So these microorganisms are constantly eating the nitrate and lowering the concentration of nitrate in the body of water. You go deeper, you reach the anaerobic zone. The microorganisms in the anaerobic zone cannot tolerate oxygen. It is toxic to them, but they can eat nitrate. So in these anoxic and anaerobic zones, nitrate gets down in there and gets converted to gas, which diffuses out of the water. That's how nature deals with it. In aquariums, though, it's difficult to have such a deep substrate that you can create an anoxic or anaerobic zone. It can be done, but it's not suitable for your average aquarist. So in the aquarium, what we do instead is a water change. We take out some of that old water from the tank that's full of nitrate, and we replace it with clean, fresh water that doesn't have nitrate, and we dilute the concentration of nitrate that way. But it can get complicated. What if you have plants? Then you need some nitrate for the plants to eat. There's all kinds of complex things. The bottom line is the only way you can know how much nitrate is in your aquarium and how often you need to change water is to test. Periodically testing and seeing what the nitrate levels are. That'll give you a sense of, ooh, every couple of weeks the nitrate levels creep up a little high. Well, then you know that every couple of weeks you should do a water change. So that's how you know how frequently you need to change the water in your aquarium. You see, not everyone keeps aquariums the same. Some aquariums are full of plants and those will utilize a lot of nitrates, and then you might not need to change the water as quickly. Some people have tons of fish in their tank and they're putting tons of food in there. Well, they're going to build up nitrates really quickly versus someone else that only has a couple of fish in the same size aquarium. So there is no one size fits all rule that you can follow. It's individual for every aquarium. So by reading our nitrate levels, we get a sense of when we need to reduce the nitrate. But that's not the only thing we need to be aware of. Aquariums are complex ecosystems that we're setting up in glass boxes. There's a lot of moving parts in them. There's other things we need to be aware of too. One is old tank syndrome. What's that? Well, when fish breathe, they breathe in oxygen like you and I do, and then they breathe out carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide and water create carbonic acid. Carbonic acid eats away at the minerals in your aquarium. It takes away the buffering capacity of the minerals in your aquarium. And it'll do that until you get to the point where there are no minerals left to buffer that acid, and suddenly the pH, the bottom falls out and it drops. Luckily, we can fix this by doing a water change. We take out some of that water that has the carbonic acid in it. We replace it with fresh, clean water that doesn't have carbonic acid in it, and also probably has some minerals in it to replace the buffering capacity of our water in our aquarium. How do you know how often to do that? Again, you test. There's test kits that will show you the alkalinity and the buffering capacity of your aquarium water, and so you can make sure it's not getting too low. But Dan, I hear you say, if my problem is I need more minerals in my aquarium to combat carbonic acid, instead of doing a water change, can't I just add more minerals? Yes, and that will solve that problem. But we've only talked about nitrate and carbonic acid. That's just two things. Remember, this is a complex ecosystem. There are many things in there that we would have to track and balance, and it would be impossible to do. So we use measurements of the buffering capacity of the water and the amount of nitrate in the water as basic indicators, but they're not the whole story. I know I said earlier there's no one-size-fits-all water change regimen, and that's true. Each tank's very different. But if you're not going to test and monitor your parameters and get to know how often you should do a water change that way, then I have a suggestion. And that is once every week or 2 weeks, do a 30% water change. That will work for almost all mature, established, stable aquariums. It's not perfect for every aquarium, but for almost all aquariums, it will work. So if you're not going to test, at least do your fish a favor, change 30% of the water once every week or two. And the safest way to do a water change is to add stable gassed off water to your aquarium instead of water fresh from your tap. The water in your tap is not stable. It's under pressure, it has chemicals in it, and once it leaves the tap, it goes through all kinds of chemical changes till it gets to a point where it's happy and stable. When those changes occur in the presence of our fish, they stress our fish. So what can you do? Well, about a day before you're going to do your water change, get the water from your tap, put it in a container, put an air stone in there, maybe a heater to get it to the right temperature for your aquarium, and just let it bubble for 12 to 24 hours. That will gas off the water, that'll get it nice and stable, that'll get it to the right temperature, and the water changes will be much less stressful for your fish. If you want to learn more about aquariums and aquarium fish keeping, we do a live stream every Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time here at the Dan's Fish YouTube channel. I'd love for you to join us. And I'd like to thank my customers and the members of my channel before I sign off. Just thank you for your support. Until next time, have a good one, everybody. Bye-bye.